The cold was unbearable. Ethan pulled his jacket tighter around him as the snow whipped across the frozen plains of Glaciera 9. Every step he took sank slightly into the soft, icy crust beneath his boots. His breath came out in white puffs, and his fingers were stiff even inside the thick gloves. Most humans would never survive here. But Ethan wasn't most humans. He had been sent as an explorer, a scout for humanity's expansion into the outer galaxies. His mission was simple: map the uncharted territories, report anything dangerous, and survive. Easy words on paper. Hard reality in a place like this. The wind screamed around him, carrying an icy sting that made him blink constantly. Then, through the white blur, he saw them. Two figures hunched over near a ridge, barely moving. At first, he thought they were some kind of rocks or alien debris, but something in their posture caught his eye. They were shivering violently, their bodies trembling like the thin branches of a tree in a storm. Ethan's stomach clenched. He knew instinctively that they were alive barely. He ran toward them, boots crunching on the snow, his voice raised over the howl of the wind. "Hey! Are you okay? Can you hear me?" The figures slowly lifted their heads, revealing two alien faces, young but beautiful in a strange way, with pale blue skin that looked almost transparent under the stormy light. Their eyes were wide, filled with confusion, fear, and something Ethan couldn't name. They were sisters, he realized instantly. Their features were similar, though one was slightly taller and more serious, the other smaller and trembling more violently. Ethan didn't wait. He dropped his survival pack to the ground, yanking out the portable heater and emergency blankets. "You're freezing," he said simply, wrapping one blanket around the smaller sister. "Hair, eat something." The taller sister stared at him, her icy lips trembling. She didn't speak, but Ethan could feel her caution. This species, whatever they were, was known across the galaxy as warriors, fierce and proud, and here they were, completely helpless. He had to admit a small, private smile. Humans might be weak, but humans also care. Humans survive in ways other species often forget. He poured some warm nutrient gel into their mouths. At first they refused, staring at him like he was some strange creature from another world. But hunger won over pride. The warmth began to bring color back into their skin. Their shivering slowed. Slowly, painfully, the sisters lifted their heads, glancing at him with wide, shocked eyes. You saved us," one of them whispered finally, in broken galactic standard. Her voice was soft, almost musical. Ethan shook his head. "I didn't do it for you. I do this for anyone who needs help," he said. "Now hold still. You'll freeze if you keep moving like that." For a moment, the storm seemed louder, the wind's howl almost a scream. But around the three of them, the world felt quiet, like the universe was watching. Ethan set up the portable heater inside a small hollow in the snow, huddling them together under blankets. He could see the sisters' muscles relaxing slightly, their faces changing from fear to something else, trust, or at least curiosity. Ethan's eyes scanned the horizon. The snowstorm was relentless, and he knew they wouldn't survive if he didn't act fast. But he also knew something else: this rescue would change everything. Humans were underestimated everywhere. Across galaxies, species laughed at them, mocked their frailty, their lack of armor, their soft skin. But humans had something no other species had: creativity, courage, and compassion in the harshest conditions. The taller sister finally spoke again, her voice firmer this time. Why are you helping us? Humans are weak." Ethan shrugged, pulling another blanket from his pack. "Maybe we are, but we survive, and sometimes that's enough." The sisters exchanged a glance, and Ethan could feel the shift. Their fear was fading. Their pride, their suspicion, was slowly giving way to something new: gratitude, respect, and perhaps a dangerous realization for the galaxy. Somewhere out there, other aliens were watching, waiting, judging. They would never have guessed what they were about to witness. Ethan smiled under his breath. Humans were underestimated everywhere, and that mistake was about to echo across the stars. The snowstorm didn't stop. If anything, it grew stronger, hammering against Ethan's small hollow with a force that made even his sturdy jacket shake. He glanced at the two alien sisters huddled under the blankets. Their breathing was still shaky, but at least the worst of the cold was gone. For now, Ethan knew that surviving the night was only the first challenge. The planet was unforgiving. Ice cliffs could collapse, sudden gusts could sweep them away, and predators, creatures even stranger than the sisters, roamed in the shadows. He needed a plan, and he needed to move fast. "Listen," he said, crouching in the snow. "You can't stay out here. Not for long. I'll get us somewhere safe, but you have to trust me." The taller sister, Lyra, lifted her pale blue face. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, narrowed at him. We don't trust humans," she said slowly. "You saved us. But why humans are weak, always weak. Ethan gave a small, tired smile. Maybe, but weak doesn't mean useless. And sometimes weak means clever. He pulled out a compact heat generator from his pack and set it on the snow. It hummed softly, glowing with warmth. He also had a few survival rations and nutrient packs, enough to get them through a day or two. Lyra and Vexa, her smaller, younger sister, looked at the food with hesitation, clearly unused to taking help from anyone. Eat, Ethan insisted. You need strength. Storm's not stopping and neither am I. Reluctantly, they began to nibble at the nutrient packs. Their faces were pale, their movements slow, but they were alive. Slowly, cautiously, Lyra asked, Where are we? Glaciera 9, Ethan replied. Remote planet. Mostly snow. Mostly death if you're unprepared. He paused, letting the words sink in. But we're going to survive. Vex's eyes widened. You humans survive like this? Without power or weapons? Ethan shrugged. We survive because we adapt. And because we care enough to try. The sisters looked at each other. Neither spoke, but Ethan could feel their judgment shifting. There was confusion now, and maybe a hint of respect. Suddenly, the distant howls of predators echoed across the icy plains. Large, shadowy creatures adapted to the freezing environment, with sharp claws that could shred through armor in seconds, emerged on the horizon. Ethan didn't panic. He had survived worse. He grabbed a few pieces of rope and some metal spikes from his pack. Follow me, he said, voice steady. I know a cave a few kilometers from here. It's hidden deep enough to stay safe, but we have to move now. The sisters hesitated. Lyra glanced at the predators. You will protect us. Ethan nodded. Of course. But you need to help too. I can't carry both of you if things get bad. Step by step, they trudged through the snow, Ethan in front, assessing every sound, every shadow. The storm battered them, but he shielded them with his body whenever the wind grew dangerous. Lyra and Vexa began to mirror him, moving cautiously, alert, their natural agility slowly returning as they realized this human knew what he was doing. A sudden loud crack made them all stop. A huge sheet of ice shifted in the distance. Ethan ducked instinctively, pulling the sisters down. The ice collapsed with a deafening roar, sending snow flying everywhere. The predators scattered, confused, and Ethan seized the moment to lead them forward. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The storm was relentless, but Ethan kept talking, distracting them, guiding them. By the time they reached the cave, exhaustion had hit them all. Ethan set up the heat generator inside the cave, making it a small sanctuary from the freezing world outside. Lyra looked at him, shivering but alive. You saved us. All of this you risked yourself. Ethan shook his head. I didn't risk anything. I just did what I had to. You would have done the same for me. The sisters exchanged a look, silent but meaningful. Something unspoken passed between them, a spark of loyalty, trust, and something the galaxy had never expected from humans. And somewhere deep inside Ethan, he knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries, and it was about to regret it. The cave was dark, cold, and damp, but it was safer than the open plains. Ethan had lit a small, portable heater, its orange glow painting the walls of ice with warmth. He could feel the sisters' eyes on him, Lyra with her sharp, calculating stare, and Vexa with her trembling, cautious gaze. Neither spoke much, but their silence wasn't just fear, it was judgment. Humans were supposed to be weak. Ethan sighed and took a seat on a jagged rock, gesturing for them to sit as well. Look, he began, I know you're probably thinking, why help humans? They're nothing compared to us. But you need to understand something. Humans survive because we don't give up ever. And we help each other. Always. Lyra's brow furrowed. You'll help strangers. Even when it puts your life in danger. Yes, Ethan said simply. Sometimes it's the only way to survive. And sometimes it's the right thing to do. Vexa tilted her head, watching him carefully. Why do you care? Humans are weak. Ethan smiled faintly. Maybe we are. But weak doesn't mean powerless. Humans can be clever, adaptable, dangerous in ways other species don't expect. You'll see soon enough. For a long moment, neither sister spoke. Then Lyra finally broke the silence. You risked yourself to save us. Most humans would leave us to die. Ethan shrugged. Most humans aren't me. The sisters exchanged a glance, a mix of disbelief and awe. They had never met a human like this. Never one who faced danger calmly, with a plan, without fear, and without expecting reward. Something inside them shifted. Respect. Curiosity. Something deeper too, the stirrings of loyalty to someone who had saved their lives. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the cave. Ethan froze. Stay still, he whispered. Outside, the storm had stirred up more than just wind and snow. The sounds of alien predators, creatures with sharp claws and glowing eyes, approached. Ethan had anticipated this. He grabbed some metal spikes and rope from his pack, setting traps near the cave entrance. The sisters watched, their eyes wide. You plan to fight them? Lyra asked, her voice tight with disbelief. No, Ethan said calmly. We don't need to fight, we need to survive. Trap them, scare them, confuse them. Then we escape. Vex's small hands trembled as she watched him. You think like a warrior. Humans think. Ethan chuckled softly. We think, and we act. That's why humans survive. That's why we win when others underestimate us. Hours passed. The storm raged outside. But inside the cave, Ethan taught the sisters small tricks. How to use the environment to their advantage. How to stay hidden. How to conserve energy in freezing conditions. Slowly, the sisters began to imitate him, moving carefully, silently. Their natural skills, speed, strength, reflexes, combined with his human ingenuity, became a powerful synergy. At one point, Lyra whispered to Vexa, "Hey, he is not like the humans we thought. Hey, he is clever, dangerous, and kind." Vexa nodded. We owe him everything. Ethan noticed the change. Their suspicion was melting into trust. But it was more than trust. It was the beginning of a bond that neither species expected. Humans were supposed to be weak. But here, in the frozen caves of Glaciera 9, one human had not only saved them but taught them, guided them, and made them feel safe. Ethan smiled quietly. Rest now, he said. Tomorrow, we move again. There's more to survive and more to teach you about humans. The sisters curled closer under the blankets, watching him with a mixture of wariness and admiration. For the first time, they wondered if perhaps the galaxy had been wrong about humans all along. Perhaps there was something powerful in their weakness, something unpredictable, something no one else had ever seen. And Ethan knew that when the storm passed, the next challenge wouldn't just test their strength. It would test the bond that had begun here in this cave, a bond that could shake the very galaxy itself. The storm had passed, but Glaciera 9 was far from safe. Ethan led Lyra and Vexa through the icy plains, moving quickly but carefully. The wind had died down, but the snow still crunched under their boots, each step echoing across the frozen emptiness. You said this planet was mostly death. Vexa whispered, shivering as she followed Ethan. Mostly, he replied with a small grin. But it's also a test, and tests, well, they show who survives. The sisters followed silently, still amazed at how a human could move so confidently across such a deadly world. Their bodies were regaining strength, but their minds were racing. Every step reminded them that this human was unlike any they had met, calm, careful, fearless, and yet gentle. Then, without warning, the air trembled. A low, terrifying growl echoed across the icy plains. Ethan froze, his hand instinctively moving to a small device at his belt. In the distance, dark silhouettes appeared, alien hunters, enormous, clawed, and armed with energy weapons. They had been tracking the sisters, and now Ethan had become a target as well. They're faster than I thought, Lyra whispered, eyes wide. They won't catch us if we stay smart, Ethan said calmly. Stay close and follow my lead. He scanned the terrain. Ahead was a narrow canyon with overhanging cliffs, a perfect place for traps. Using rope, rocks, and makeshift spikes, Ethan set small obstacles along the path. We use their speed against them, he said. They won't see us coming. The hunters spotted them. A shrill alarm sounded, echoing across the canyon walls. Ethan sprinted forward, with Lyra and Vexa following. The aliens charged, claws scraping the ice, energy weapons humming. But the canyon worked in Ethan's favor. Rocks tumbled, spikes caught hooves and claws, and the hunters slowed. Lyra's eyes shone as she moved beside Ethan. You planned this? She gasped. Every step, he said. Humans survive by thinking ahead. We improvise. We adapt. Vexa, once trembling, now mirrored his movements, ducking and rolling under low, hanging icicles, helping them escape the hunter's line of attack. The sisters were learning quickly, but it wasn't just their skills. They were beginning to trust Ethan's judgment completely. Suddenly, one hunter lunged from the side, faster than Ethan expected. He grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her to safety, dodging a deadly swipe. Careful, he shouted. Stick close. The hunters hesitated as Ethan led the sisters through a sudden avalanche of snow and ice. Rocks tumbled, blocking the path, and the predators growled in frustration. Ethan grinned. Not smart enough. Humans survive always. The sisters looked at him in awe. You humans, you are dangerous, Lyra whispered. Dangerous? Ethan chuckled. Not because we're strong, because we're unpredictable. For the first time, the sisters realized the truth: the galaxy had misjudged humans for centuries. Their species, which had mocked and underestimated humans, had ignored one simple fact: humans could adapt, plan, and survive where others would fail. Hours later, the trio reached a safer plateau overlooking the frozen plains. The hunters had retreated, snarling in disbelief. Lyra and Vexa collapsed to the snow, exhausted but alive. Ethan knelt beside them, giving them water from his pack. Lyra looked up at him, eyes wide and sincere. You saved us again. Not just from the storm from them. You are not weak. You are dangerous. I have never seen a human like this. Ethan smiled quietly. Maybe we seem weak. Maybe the galaxy laughs at us. But remember this, never underestimate humans. We survive, we fight, and we protect those we care about. Always. Vexa nodded, her shivering gone, replaced by determination. We owe you everything. You taught us what humans really are. And Ethan, looking out over the vast frozen world, knew something profound. This bond wasn't just about survival, it was about respect, trust, and a lesson that the galaxy would learn too late. Humans weren't weak. They were unpredictable, clever, dangerous in ways no one could imagine. The sisters had survived the storm, the cold, and the hunters, but the real revelation was only beginning. The galaxy's underestimation of humans was about to end. Ethan, Lyra, and Vexa stood at the edge of a cliff, overlooking the frozen plains of Glaciera 9. The sun, pale and distant, reflected off the ice in blinding waves. The storm had passed, leaving silence, but it was the kind of silence that carried a warning. The sisters looked at Ethan with a mix of awe, gratitude, and something else of fear. Not of him, but of the truth he had revealed. Humans, Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. We misjudged you. We thought we were superior, stronger, smarter. But, she trailed off, staring at him. Ethan's face was calm. But, he prompted gently. But you survive, always, Lyra said. You think, you adapt, you fight in ways no one expects. You are dangerous. Ethan shrugged, a faint smile tugging at his lips. We're not dangerous because we're strong. We're dangerous because we never give up. We protect what matters. We learn from everything. And when someone underestimates us, that's when humans show what they're really capable of. Vexa stepped closer to Ethan, her small hand brushing against his arm. We owe you everything. You saved our lives not once, not twice, but 3 times. And you didn't even hesitate. Humans are not weak. Ethan looked at them, quietly proud but not arrogant. The galaxy thinks humans are soft, weak, fragile. That's why you were surprised. That's why other species underestimate us. And that mistake is going to change everything. Lyra and Vexa exchanged a glance. For the first time they understood the truth that had been hidden for centuries. Humans were underestimated at their own risk. They weren't just survivors. They were cunning, fearless, and capable of doing what others couldn't imagine. The sisters' comm devices crackled suddenly, a familiar voice from their home planet speaking urgently. Lyra.
Vexa, report immediately. Where are you?
Lyra hesitated. We were captured, but we survived because of a human. The voice was shocked, then angry. What? A human? Impossible. Humans are weak, harmless. Vexa spoke up, voice steady. Not harmless, not weak. You underestimated them. One human saved us. He fought, planned, and protected us. You need to know the truth. Ethan watched quietly as the sisters' homeworld reacted. Across the galaxy, word would spread quickly. Humans, thought weak and fragile, had single-handedly saved powerful alien operatives and defeated predators no one else could handle. Lyra looked at Ethan with a new respect. We will never forget you. You've changed how we see humans and how the galaxy will see them. Ethan nodded, scanning the horizon. That's fine. You don't need to remember me. Just remember, humans survive. We adapt. And when we act with purpose. A faint rumble in the distance reminded them that danger never fully left. Ethan wasn't afraid. The galaxy would come to learn the same lesson that Lyra and Vexa had learned firsthand. Humans were underestimated at their own peril. Later, as Ethan prepared his small shuttle for departure, the sisters stood beside him. Promise us something, Lyra said. Tell your people, tell everyone humans are not weak. They can change the course of battles, entire wars if underestimated. Ethan smiled faintly. I promise. But the galaxy will find out soon enough. Humans don't need permission to show what we can do. As the shuttle lifted into the sky, leaving Glaciera 9 behind, Ethan looked down at the frozen world below. 2 alien sisters, once proud and untouchable, now owed their lives to one human, and their admiration and loyalty were stronger than any weapon. Across the stars, the message would spread. Aliens who had laughed at humans, who had mocked their softness, would reconsider. The galaxy had learned, sometimes the hard way, that humans were not weak. They were unpredictable, clever, and dangerous in ways no one could predict. Ethan leaned back in his seat, quietly confident. One human had changed the lives of 2 alien sisters, and in doing so, had started a ripple that could change the fate of the galaxy. And somewhere out there, unseen by most, the galaxy began to whisper, never underestimate humans.